What is religion? What are gods? And why is it that we believe in them? Questions like these have puzzled many minds throughout history, but still haven't really been answered. Yet, religion has remained an important part of human culture in some way or another since our very beginning. It's intrinsically tied to how we operate as a species and interact with our peers. But why? Why is it that we as human beings are so drawn to these intangible beliefs, despite not having any real proof of their existence? Well, in his book, Big Gods: How Religion Transformed Cooperation and Conflict, author Norenzayan attempts to provide answers to these questions through 8 central claims he makes about the effects of religion on our species and its cultural development. I won't be covering all of these claims within this video, so I recommend checking out the book for yourself if you can. But its primary thesis can pretty much be summed up by saying that throughout history, religion has served as a vital building block and maintenance system in societies around the world to guide how people interact with each other through both cooperation and conflict. To begin to understand what Norenzayan is trying to say here, we must first define a key aspect of his argument: the titular big gods, which he describes as omniscient, punitive deities who, despite being immensely powerful, still exhibit certain levels of human behavior that influence how they behave and operate, such as anger, sympathy, or even favoritism. This leads us into the first of Norenzayan's claims, which is that watched people are nice people. He theorizes that a vital part of kickstarting societal development in early human cultures was based around the idea of having an unseen, omniscient being who individuals believed to be watching and thereby judging their actions at all times. He explains that these early societies wouldn't have yet been able to develop the infrastructure required to do this type of monitoring themselves, such as the modern-day luxuries we have of law enforcement or judicial systems. So they needed something to keep everyone in check in order to avoid their societies collapsing into complete chaos. Therefore, Norenzayan claims that it was this shared belief in these big gods that allowed certain societies to succeed where others failed, outcompeting these rival cultures by way of mutual cooperation and respect, which were a direct result of this perceived supernatural surveillance. So basically, what he's saying is that people who believe their actions are being watched, and more importantly judged by some all-powerful deity, will choose to behave in a way that they think this deity, and by extension their society and peers, would deem acceptable. This isn't exactly a new idea though. In fact, it's present in pretty much any religious text you can find. The 10 Commandments of Christianity, the Code of Hammurabi used by the Babylonians, or even in Santa Claus's famous song.
He sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake, he knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake.
All of these texts and many others basically state the same idea that Norenzayan is trying to convey here. Those who act in a socially acceptable manner will be rewarded for doing so. Pretty simple, so let's move on to the next of his claims that I'll be addressing, which states that religions encourage their followers to trust people who trust in God. What he means by this is that a mutual belief in a common big God within these early societies allowed for much greater social cohesion than would have been possible without this shared ideology. He explains that early humans mostly only interacted with those they were related to by blood or had been in close proximity to since their birth, a group which he refers to as an individual's kin. With this familial kinship already present, there was really no need for early humans to distrust their peers. They all lived together, ate together, slept together, and generally helped each other out as they worked toward their common goal of survival. But as these small groups of early humans began to run into other rival groups, they quickly learned that available land and resources weren't unlimited. So they couldn't trust everyone as if they were their own kin. Groups fought with each other, stole from each other, and even killed each other. So naturally, distrust amongst those not considered one's kin grew very quickly. Therefore, if these individuals weren't able to draw trust in each other from a mutual blood relation, how did they do it? Well, the answer lies in religion and, more importantly, a mutual belief in the same big gods. Think of it this way. If you're a Muslim and you're given the task of choosing between a Christian, a Buddhist, and another Muslim to be given $100 for them to distribute however they'd like between you and themselves, keeping in mind that you have no other knowledge about these 3 people besides their religion, which would you pick? While I won't presume to know your exact choice in this situation, I'd be willing to bet that most people would choose their fellow Muslim, as they believe they will be the ones to distribute the money in the most equal way between the two of them. But why is that? Well, the author believes it's because people trust people who trust in God. Mutual beliefs and values amongst citizens of these early societies who may have never previously met each other allowed trust to be almost immediately established between them, which then made way for much more valuable and complex social interactions to develop, such as trade, friendship, or even marriage, all of which are vital for both a society and a religion to flourish and grow. But now, you're probably wondering how the citizens of these early civilizations really knew if those they were interacting with actually held their same beliefs. And you'd be smart to wonder that because it just so happens that these early citizens often had the same concern. Anyone can say they believe in something, but how do you really know they're telling the truth? They could just be lying in order to reap the rewards of whatever social interaction they're trying to convince you to partake in. This leads us into the next of Norenzayan's claims, which states that religious actions speak louder than religious words. Given the inherent distrust between individuals first inhabiting these early civilizations, they naturally needed some way to verify each other's beliefs and, more importantly, their commitment to their chosen religion's values. Enter religious rituals, which allowed individuals to publicly display their devotion to a certain religion or god in order to earn the trust of their peers and take advantage of the social interactions that their perceived commitment allowed. The more devotion a certain ritual was perceived to require, the more trust an individual could garner from their peers, which is why we see a lot of early societies making use of very extreme and sometimes even inhumane rituals like body mutilation or even human sacrifice. It's these last two claims that I find personally to be the most compelling of all the assertions Norenzayan makes throughout his book, as well as the most applicable to our own reality. In order for a society to evolve and grow in the real world, increased interaction between its inhabitants is extremely important, as it allows for trade, legal systems, technology, communication, and infrastructure to all develop much more efficiently. But this increased interaction and all the benefits that come with it just isn't possible without first establishing trust. And since not every citizen of a society can be blood related or kin, they must utilize other methods to earn each other's trust, which is why religion is so vital. It serves as an essential stepping stone in cultural development and social cohesion, allowing for complex and efficient societal systems to be put into place, eventually leading to the mind-blowing size and complexity that we see in our own modern-day civilizations. But if the trust that results from these mutual religious beliefs is so important to societal development, then how do atheists, or those who don't believe in any higher beings, fall into the equation? Well, Norenzayan states that despite their very different beliefs, atheists don't act all that differently from their virtuous religious counterparts. In fact, he even draws evidence from multiple psychological studies that show that exposure to religious stimuli has the capability of increasing prosocial behavior in both believers and non-believers by the same amount. But despite this discovery, it's still pretty common even in modern times for believers to express some level of distrust toward non-believers. However, this prejudice is something that the author believes will most likely change within the coming decades as modern infrastructure like law enforcement and judicial systems become more widely utilized and secular movements like atheism continue to grow in popularity, thereby removing the need for any supernatural surveillance system to keep people in check. So, in conclusion, it's clear through Norenzayan's research that the world's views on religion are changing faster than they ever have before. And as a world population, we must all work together to understand these changes so that we may continue to succeed in the future as our ancestors did in the centuries past, albeit without the help of any eyes in the sky this time. May God have mercy on us all. But I'd still like to know what you think too, so let me know in the comments below if you agree with Norenzayan's claims and why. Or if you don't, why not? And as always, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel if you like this type of content and want to see more. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook for more frequent updates or to request a topic you'd like us to cover in a future video. Thank you all so much for watching this episode of Times New American, and have a fantastic rest of your day.